Just ahead on American Black Journal, I'll have a wide-ranging interview with former Detroit Mayor Dennis Archer about his career, this year's historic election, and Detroit's future. Plus, we'll get details on a local organization that encourages young people to discover their inner genius. Don't go away. American Black Journal starts right now.
American Black Journal is funded by the W.K. Kellogg Foundation, a partner with communities where children come first.
How does diversity bring energy to us all? At DTE Energy, we believe that it's the contributions of all that build great communities. As a company, we grow stronger by welcoming the unique perspectives of everyone. As community members, we support our state's broad culture and heritage. From working closely with women and minority-owned suppliers to embracing our local cultures, DTE Energy is powering diversity. The DTE Energy Foundation is a proud sponsor of Detroit Public Television.
Welcome to American Black Journal. I'm Stephen Henderson. My first guest has been a force on the political and civic scene in Detroit and the state of Michigan. He's a former Michigan Supreme Court Justice and two-term mayor of Detroit. Plus, he's an African-American history maker, having been elected the first black president of the American Bar Association in 2003. I'm pleased to have Dennis Archer here today on American Black Journal.
Stephen, thank you for having me.
Welcome back to the program. It's not
Thank
like
you.
You haven't been here before. I want to start with your impressions of now. I think this is such an extraordinary political season and campaign. And so I ask everyone who I see, boy, what do you make of what we're seeing with Donald Trump, with the Republican Party? As someone who's been in politics for a very long time, I would imagine you also have a perspective on how unusual this really is.
It is unusual, and I will tell you, Stephen, that I was frankly shocked if I were asked to place a bet in terms of who would likely be in the general election in which we're now dealing with. I would have predicted Jeb Bush and Hillary Clinton.
Right.
Because I'd watched Jeb Bush in Florida, and I've had a chance to meet him, and I thought it was going to be a Clinton-Bush election, and was readily prepared for it, and it still would have been Hillary Rodham Clinton, but at the end of the day, that's what I would predict. I was very surprised to see how with 17 candidates, all offering a different point of view. Now, some that were very close in proximity in terms of their philosophical beliefs to each other. Yeah. But for Donald Trump to emerge, it was just fascinating to watch. And what he was saying and how he was saying it in terms of picking out, it was almost as if he and his colleagues had carved out an area that they knew that they would reach a certain segment of society. And frankly, they've been able to do that, whether it was something that they knew in advance or what he was saying was resonating with that segment of our society. We've had a number of people who have been left out. They've lost wages. They have not been able to achieve and have the kind of prominence and success, self-success, self-feeling of worth that they've historically had. What we've done about it, and when I say we, I'm talking about people of color, is to take advantage of the educational opportunities as they came about. When we got right-sized, downsized, and when there was an opportunity to go to, say, Wayne County or Henry Ford Community College or Macomb Community College, to be able to take advantage, to keep our education up.
New skills and
others decided to go I won't say decided, but I guess determined, go with the flow because their success rate, when you think about the number of outstanding men and women who had worked all of their lives in manufacturing or whatever it might have been, and they were able to take care of their families, be able to have a nice home, some having either recreational vehicles or cottages up north, and they were cyclical. That is to say, there might be a little bit of term of where they would be laid off, but in the end they would come back.
Come back, yeah.
And when that did not occur, there was a lot of bitterness.
Trump is really exploiting that population and their fears and vulnerabilities.
And he picks on people that those who feel left out blame.
Right. It's easy to scapegoat.
They look at people of color and they assume, well, this is affirmative action, or they look at women, well, women ought to be in their places at home, and things of that nature. But I hope at the end of the day, when this election is over and when Hillary Rodham Clinton becomes president, that they will have an appreciation for the opportunity that here's a person who will represent all of America and will pull us all together and will help you regain that which you lost. And that's what she intends to do. If you saw the debate, the last debate that they had, you observed her reaching out to the public. She was speaking to the public saying, this is what I will do in the first 100 days.
Speaking of elections, we have also local elections this year, November 8th. You are pretty passionate about two issues. First, transit.
Stephen,
when you were mayor, this was an issue. It's been an issue for 50 years.
It's been an issue for a long time. And when I ran for mayor, after announcing my candidacy in 1992, I made it very clear that I thought one of the weaknesses that we have as a region, not just Detroit, but as a region to grow and prosper, is that we did not have a regional transportation system. Indeed, we are the largest region in the United States that did not have a regional transportation system. In fact, it was all there ready to go when Governor Engler left office, but for reasons he best knows, he decided to veto it, and I think it was vetoed because the legislature did not give him what he wanted as it relates to more charter schools, and because he felt that there should be more opportunities for parents and students to be able to get the quality education that they wanted in different venues rather than public education, and he vetoed it. And Jennifer Granholm, when she became governor, there was a rush to put something in. It got in, then it got challenged by the unions, and it got found to be unconstitutional, and they tried over and over and over. And we now finally have something that it is absolutely vital and important for the entire region. And everybody will benefit from it because as you take a look at the regional transportation system and what's put on the table, it will help virtually the Macomb, Wayne, Washtenaw counties and Oakland County, and will be in our better.
Even if you're not a user, I mean, even if you're not somebody who rides public transit, I keep saying you benefit because when your neighbor can get to work a little easier than normal, that helps with stability in that person's life. That helps your neighborhood.
Well, not only that, Stephen, if you take a look at it just in terms of, say, from a city, most cities or counties depend upon either property tax or, as the city does, property tax and income tax. And so when people are able to go to and from work, I mean, there was a gentleman that was just recently highlighted, I think, on the front page of the Free Press.
James Robertson.
Where there's a little piece that's going to be done about his life and what he's done, walking 21 miles. Here's somebody who really demonstrated his sincere desire to want to work. And fortunately, he was rewarded for it, and he's still working. And when you've got people, senior citizens, who need to get to the physician to see their doctor, the hospitals are supporting this because they understand what kind of frustration that their patients have getting either to a hospital or to a doctor's office. And when you're able to keep health care under control, it reduces the amount of money that we ultimately pay as taxpayers. So everybody wins.
You're also interested in the local school board elections, return of power, some power, to the democratically elected people in the city of Detroit. Very important choice. Again, when you were mayor, schools that was always an issue. How do we do better with it?
It continues to be an issue, and what I think when I go around the country and people are asking, how's things going on in Detroit, I tell them the truth, and that is things are on their way back. It's outstanding. You cannot go to downtown or midtown Detroit right now and rent, lease, or buy a loft condominium or a condo.
Yeah, they're all gone.
They're all gone. But the great thing is more is being built.
Right.
You cannot, if you drove your car downtown and said, you know, I'd like to lease a spot in your parking garage that's sheltered, you can't do it. It's all gone. Yeah. Fortunately, more parking is being built. Right. But the one potential Achilles heel, the tendon that's there, is public education. We've had several different emergency financial managers, each trying to do their absolute very best to provide a quality education for our students. And we've had emergency financial managers who've come in and they've done a very good job, I think, in my view. Now, here's an opportunity to bring back an elected Board of Education where that board will make decisions on behalf of our children in the city of Detroit, and they can turn things around, and it will really help bring more people back and indeed keep more people here as opposed to sending their kids outside. I mean, we've got, I think the last figure I heard was something like 20,000 kids who are going outside of the city.
Yeah.
They leave the city to go to get an education outside. And so this is a real unique opportunity, but it will only work if we really elect quality people who have the experience, the professional background and training that is willing to sit down and work at these hard issues in terms of watching finances, being able to appreciate what is needed that takes place in the classroom. And so I just hope that everybody will be very cautious about who they vote for.
Yeah, super important choice. As I said, you've been in politics for a long time in the city and in the state. I want to talk to you in the last couple of minutes here about the racial moment I feel like we're having in the country right now, where there is this renewed attention, I feel like, to the inequalities that sort of linger around us, that have historical roots in slavery and Jim Crow and things like that. We're seeing really devastating things with police killing unarmed African-American men. We're seeing black people organize around that with the Black Lives Matter movement. I wonder, with somebody who's had all the experiences that you've had, what you make of all of that and what you feel like maybe the opportunity is out of it.
This is a real great opportunity, I think, to have a dialogue and a conversation and a respectful conversation by and between all of us in our respective communities so that we can once and for all address the issue of race. I mean, when you consider, for example, what is being done in preparation for next year, the Historical Museum is doing a great job in terms of interviewing people and asking people, well, where were you? What did you experience? What are you doing? And they're going to come up with a great film and a great kind of discussion opportunity that will take place that will allow us to appreciate the fact that when you look at how our city was burning, nobody could have anticipated that those spots that were burning are still empty spots inside the city.
Go up and down what was 12th Street.
Exactly right.
It looks the same.
Go by New Bethel Baptist Church. Go by, I mean, the places that I would go with the guys after a basketball game playing on Saturday in the school gym that we taught at. And we go to Greenleaf and have great, thick, wonderful pancakes. And a lot. You don't find that.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot to learn from that. And then it's sort of like it's lay quiet for a while, and then all of a sudden we start seeing around the country the Trayvon Martins and the others who have lost their lives. Yeah. And then you have a group that comes up that raises the issue and say, well, wait a minute, folks, Black lives matter here.
Yeah.
We need to talk about this. What are you going to be doing about it? And they inserted themselves in the election. The people who responded with respect were Senators Hillary Clinton and Barry Sanders, and the Republicans, they didn't talk about it at all.
Yeah, it's hard to get them to
And
even
so
engage.
it's like this conversation is needed, and it's going to take place, and I think it will be resolved. And what will help us resolve it is because of the communities in our region who care deeply about it. For example, when we had 9/11 that took place, there was, and at the time that 9/11 took place, there was an issue regarding a death that took place at a gas station.
Right, I remember that.
If you remember that, a person was smothered. And there was that tension between blacks and the Middle Eastern community. And then there was tension as relates to the Jewish population and the Middle Eastern population.
Yeah.
But there was always dialogue that was going, always dialogue. And so when 9/11 occurred, the first people who spoke up were African Americans and the Jewish population and said, do not profile
That's right.
our neighbors. Our kids go to school together, we shop at their stores, we are neighbors, etc. Do not racially profile.
Yeah.
And I was very proud of our citizens.
Yeah.
And so it's that kind of understanding, Stephen, that I think that will help us carry over and get through it. But we do need an open dialogue.
We got to talk about it.
You all have done it. You've done a great job of it. You've raised it in your editorials. You've raised it on Mackinac Island. You're not afraid of that issue. Yeah. And that's what it takes to have everybody having that kind of freedom to talk about it. And when you find that when you talk about things, you learn that, they got a mortgage like I got a mortgage. Or he's concerned just like I am.
More in common than
absolutely.
All right, Dennis Archer, always good to see you.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks very much for being here.
Thank you.
Coming up next on American Black Journal, a program that's preparing young minds for college and future careers. But first, here's a look at some important moments in Detroit's Black history.
I'm Ken Coleman with a look back at African American life in Detroit. This week in 2005, civil rights legend and longtime city resident Rosa Parks died at age 92. In 1964, Baby Love by the Supremes kicked off a 4-week run as the nation's #1 pop song. And in 1963, the predominantly black St. Philip Lutheran Church selected its first white principal of its grade school, Melvin Borchardt. These are significant events this week in Detroit's Black history, taken from the book On This Day, African American Life in Detroit.
It's expected that 60% of job openings in the next 2 years are going to require a college degree. That's why it's important that today's teenagers are well prepared for higher education. The Detroit-based Ingenuity College Preparatory Institute was founded to motivate and help guide middle and high school students through the maze of enrolling and succeeding in college and in their chosen careers. The program uses mentors, workshops, seminars, academic coaching, and other activities to get young people to cultivate their genius within. Joining me now is the founder of Ingenuity, Candace Cox-Wimberly. Welcome to American Black Journal.
Thank you, Stephen.
I love that phrase, the inner genius, right, of children. And it's one of the things that I think if you really accept the idea that all kids have an inner genius, then you start thinking about, well, okay, how do we help them unleash that? What are the things that we're not doing that allow people to sort of tap into that? And that's where this program comes in.
Yes, absolutely. And that is the whole purpose of it all. You know, my personal story, I've been blessed and fortunate with a phenomenal mother who motivated me, who encouraged me. I came from a single parent household. So that motivation, encourage helped me get to where I am today. But there are so many young people who may not have that directly in their household, you know. And mainly letting young people know that we're all created with a purpose. That's the whole reason why we're all here on this earth.
That purpose, right?
Finding it and having someone coach you and encourage you to know you have a genius within. You have a purpose to be fulfilled, and the world is waiting for it.
Right. We can all be really great at something. It's about identifying that and then doing the right things to put yourself in a position to get there. So talk about the program, how it works. How do you identify the kids who you're reaching out to?
Excellent question. So in 2012, we began Ingenuity, working with high school students and preparing them for college. And at that time, we were helping students not only transition and go into college, we were also getting them exposed to internships and their chosen career interests. And then fast forwarding up to this year, we've actually began a mentorship program specifically for young ladies, entitled Young Ladies Find Their Genius Within. And primarily our, promotion is word of mouth. We started our program at Greater Grace Temple.
Okay.
And, that's my church home, but we have programs there with young people that are, in the community that need that support system for the student as well as the parent. Yeah. And what I hate to hear, but it's the truth, that everybody says everybody's not going to go to college. Well, if facing that reality, okay, that's true, because we have some of the most successful people in our world today. They're entrepreneurs, didn't go to college. So it's all about them tapping into their inner genius and knowing what was your divine creation. What are you here for?
Well, what's the thing that we can get you doing that really fulfills you? I think that's one of the tougher things to get going with kids. It's interesting, you focus on girls, and that is a different issue than boys. I mean, I think you have issues on both sides of that gender sort of divide, but with women, young women, I mean, you're still sort of making up for, I think, some of the cultural biases against female success.
Absolutely. We have a lot of different dynamics to have to deal with, as we can kind of look at the elections today.
Right.
And I would like to say, one, I can identify it personally with young ladies. And I can really be that much more impactful to them to share, okay, what's been successful in my life and what is some things that I probably would do differently to help them and cultivate them, and encouraging healthy self-esteem and healthy confidence, which is why our motto is, I am a genius. We say it confidently, not in a boastful way, but in a confident way of saying, I am a genius. Now, what do I need to do to believe that and to fulfill that? So that's, young men, we work with them, but the mentorship program, I wanted to really put my hands on the young ladies and put some, my arms around them and love them and say, you can be all that you've created to be.
Well, and one of the things also is teaching people how to fail, how to deal with failure, how to sort of understand that that failure is not final. It's a step. It's a step in the process, and everybody goes through that on their way to actual success.
Yes, and a lot of times when you aren't given that speech, what you shared, it can hurt a lot more. We've all had failures that helped us become stronger, but when you are caught off guard by it, some people may want to give up, but you have to get back up, try again, keep going, and keep trying, and keep doing what you were created to do.
I'm curious, what you see is the difference between what you see with young people now in the city of Detroit and what you experienced as a young person. The city's really different now than it was. Kids are really different than they were before. Talk about that divide. How different is it?
I would say also a big factor is technology. It's completely different because we have a whole different world of how individuals communicate. So, people are texting as opposed to calling on the phone. I watched a video a couple of weeks ago, and they were comparing times before into now. And they say, two friends go over one another's house, the whole time they're texting on their phone and computer, and then they might take a minute, like, look at this post, and they go back to it,
You're in your own little world, right?
And I think, I appreciate technology. I appreciate the success and the accomplishments we get from it, but there needs to be a healthy balance. And I think a lot of dependence on the internet kind of interferes with our youth's social abilities to be able to socially communicate, and that's why we're working with the young people and saying, this is how you have a healthy balance between technology as well as your interpersonal skills, your life skills, soft skills in a professional setting, to be able to have that balance, to be able to understand, you can have best of both worlds. And, talking about technology, going right back to being a genius, we know what a cell phone is created to do. We know its purpose, and how much greater are we to know our purpose and what we were created to do and fulfill.
That's a great parallel. All right. Congratulations on the program.
Thank you.
Thanks very much for being here.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you having me.
All right. Finally, here's a quick look at what's coming up this week. The annual Angels Night campaign in the city of Detroit is going to be in effect from Saturday through Halloween night on Monday. Thousands of volunteers are going to patrol neighborhoods looking for suspicious activity and helping to prevent arson fires. Last year, Detroit had just 52 fires over the Halloween period. That is the lowest number recorded since Angels Night began 20 years ago. That's our program for today. Thanks for watching. You can get more information about our guests at AmericanBlackJournal.org, and you can always follow us on Facebook and on Twitter. We'll see you next time.
This program is part of American Graduate. Let's make it happen. A public media initiative made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
American Black Journal is funded by the W.K. Kellogg Foundation, a partner with communities where children come first.
How does diversity bring energy to us all? At DTE Energy, we believe that it's the contributions of all that build great communities. As a company, we grow stronger by welcoming the unique perspectives of everyone. As community members, we support our state's broad culture and heritage. From working closely with women and minority-owned suppliers to embracing our local cultures, DTE Energy is powering diversity. The DTE Energy Foundation is a proud sponsor of Detroit Public Television.